Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Ajulam here, and in today's tutorial we are going to learn how to make a pleated satin birthday dress for a little girl. And if you're new to my channel, you're welcome. Consider subscribing and turn on the bell icon so that I get notified whenever I post new videos. So if you're interested, let's get started. My satin, as you can see, and my lining. Okay, this is a very simple dress, and you also need a lace trimming. This is what I have here. I'll be adding this to the dress as well, and if you want, you can also add a little hardnet. So I'm going to start by drafting out the pattern because I'll be adding a little twist to this dress. So here is my pattern paper. Alright, here as you can see, I have the bodice length marked out. Here I have 9 inches. This is going to be for a 2-year-old baby girl, so the bodice length is 8 inches plus 1 inch for my sewing allowance, making it 9 inches. And this is the armhole line or the chest line. So I'll go ahead and mark out the shoulder measurement, which is 4 1/4, and here I have 4 1/4. I'll also bring the same 4 1/4 down to this chest line, as you can see, and then I'll come down by 1/2 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll connect the points. Okay, so now the next thing is to determine the neck width. So for this I'll be making it 2 1/4. That is the neck width. You can also make it 2 or even 2.5 depending on how you want the neckline to be. So I will just connect now. This is the point. Okay, now the next thing is to mark out the neck depth. So for the neck depth I'll go with 2 inches, which is here, and then I'll connect. So I just connected the neckline. I'll go ahead and determine the midpoint here. Okay, so here is 4, midpoint is 2, and on that point I'll go in by 1/2 inch, and then I'll mark out the chest measurement. Now the chest measurement is 23. Okay, so I'm going to mark that out. 23 divided by 4, that is here, and then I'll add my 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance, and then I'll connect the points. So this is it. The next thing is to mark out the waist measurement divided by 4. Whatever it gives you, you're going to mark it out here. Okay, and then you add your 1/2 inch or whatever seam you prefer using. So I'll just connect now. Like I said, I'll be adding a little twist. This is the part. Now for this neckline, I don't want my pleat to start exactly on this neckline. So all I'm going to do is to mark out 1.5 inch. Okay, this part is going to be like a yoke, so I'll just mark out 1.5 following this neckline. So I'll keep on rotating my tape just like that. Okay, this is 1.5 inch, and then I'll just connect the point before cutting it out. Alright, this is it. As you can see, I just connected the points, and this is where I'll be using only net. Now my plate is going to start from this line. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and draft out the back before we now cut it out. So now for the back, I'll just quickly mark out the bodice length and the armhole as well as the zipper line. Alright, here as you can see, I quickly drafted out a back basic bodice, but not all. Now I want to show you the parts that I want to alter. Like I said, that I'll be adding a little twist for the back as well. So here I have my bodice length. This is the armhole or chest line, and I just marked out the shoulder measurement. I just repeated what I did in the front pattern. Now you can decide how low or high you want the neck depth to be. For me, it's going to be very high, so I'll just make it 1/2 inch, and then I'll quickly connect. Okay, you can decide to give it any shape of your choice. And then for the waist line, I'll go up by 1/2 inch. Okay, and then I'll mark out the waist measurement, which is 5¼ that is what I am using, plus my ½ inch for sewing allowance, and the chest measurement you need to mark that out as well. I use 5½ plus your ½ inch sewing allowance, and then you connect. Okay, so now this ½ inch I am going to join it to this end here as I am doing. So just connect. Okay, it's as simple as that. Now for this part I'll check the midpoint as well, okay, which is 2 inches. Now since it's 2 inches, I will go in by 1 inch. Okay, remember the front I used ½ inch, but the back I'll be using 1 inch because there's a way I want the shape of the back to be. So I'll just mark out 1 inch, which is here, and then I'm going to connect. Okay, what I am doing here is optional. If you want, you can also use ½ inch. Sometimes you can even connect straight, just to this line, and it's still okay. So for me, I'll go with what I'm doing here. So I'll just connect now. Okay, this is the shape I want the back to have. I want it to be very deep on these points, as you can see. So now the back and front pattern is ready. I will go ahead now and cut so I can place my fabric, and then we can start sewing. Have everything cut out, as you can see. So I am going to start with the front. This is the one that is for the front. So I'm going to take one of the net. As you can see, I cut out 2 of it. I'll be using one as the interfacing or as the lining. Okay, so this is the first one. I am going to take this now and stitch it. Okay, I'll just turn it over this way and then follow it that way using the inches that I left as my sewing allowance, and sew it all the way down to this other end. Alright, here it is. As you can see, I just sew in my net and then top stitch, and also before top stitching I gave it notches here and there, and I repeat the same on the lining. So now I will just go ahead and join the shoulders together. So I will take the back now and join the shoulder together. After that, I will now sew the neckline alone before we'll now join our pleats. After joining the pleat, that is when we're going to close the armhole. So for now, let me just close the shoulder and the neckline. So this is it after sewing the neckline. As you can see, this is how it looks. I sewed the neckline and the shoulder like I said earlier. So this is the front, how it looks, and this is the back. So at this point I am going to cut out what I'll be using to pleat, so I can add to this front side. Okay, so now keep this aside and take my satin. Now for this part you can decide to use a flare pleat, but for this I'll be using a straight pleat method to add it to this bodice. So now this is my satin, and the height of my satin is by 60 inches. So I'm going to fold it on that part that is by 60 inches. I'll just fold into two like this. Alright, here I have my satin folded into two, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out what I'll be using to make the pleat. So I'll mark out 3 inches, or rather 3.5. okay, the half inch is what I'll be using to close the side. So I'll just mark out 3.5 and cut it out. This is what I'll be using to make the pleat. Like I said earlier, you can use the flare method to make the pleat if you have enough fabric to go with. So here I'll keep on marking and then I'll cut it out. So here I have it cut out, as you can see. So I'll go ahead and fold it into two and then close this side. Like I said, after closing it, I will now turn it inside out and give it a good press. So here it is. After sewing it, I just turn it inside out and I gave it a good press. This is how it looks, like a belt, you know, the same way you cut and sew a belt that you want to add to a dress. So now I will go ahead now and plait. I'll be using making it a knife pleat. All should face one side. So I'll just go ahead and pleat it all the way down to this other end. Alright, after pleating it, this is what I have, and as you can see, it's already looking so beautiful. I'm going to take the bodice part now and open it up, as you can see, making sure that the lining is separate, because we are going to sew in the pleats on this part. Okay, now for this part, if you want, you can join the pleats before closing the shoulder. Okay, but for me, I'll be joining it from the back. Like I said, I'm adding a little twist. Okay, so I'll just join it from the back. I'll measure 3 inches from this back, or say 3.5, and then I'll notch that point. Then I'll place this right there and follow it. Remember I said the first one should be on this line here. Okay, so I'm going to place it that way now and sew it all the way down to this other back side. So here, as you can see, I just sewed that in on that line. That is the first one, and as you can see, it's already looking so beautiful. So I'll go ahead and join the rest of my plate. This is the second one, so I am going to put it in this way. Okay, you can make it ½ inch distance from this to this second one. So I'll just go in now. I'll just go in by ½ inch and sew it, as you can see, and I will take the last one, okay, following the same ½ inch distance, and then join it in. At the end of the day, we are going to have something that looks like this. Okay, now for this part, if you want, you can also make it bold, but I'm okay with what I have here. So let me go ahead now and join them so we can close the armhole area. So this is it. After sewing it, that is the armhole, and then I just turn it inside out and give it a little press. Now this is how the front looks, and you can tell that it's already looking so beautiful. And the back, you have a very clean inseam finishing here. Okay, all the sewing now is inside. Okay, so I will go ahead now and close the sides together, and this upper part is ready to be joined with the lower part. After joining the sides, the upper part is ready to be joined with the lower part. So I have my net here. Here I have 5 yards. Like I said, I'll be adding a twist to this. I'll be using net instead of satin alone for the lower parts. So I'll be using net and satin as well. And here I have 5 yards. I'm going to cut out 3 yards, which I'll be using for the one that is going to be on top. Okay, and the other 2 I'm going to cut them in such a way that I will add them on my satin. Okay, so I'll just show you all that. Let me just go ahead and cut this out and then place my satin on the table. Alright, here is my satin. This is what I have left, and I am working with just 1 yard of satin. So this is already on fold, as you can see. So I'll just take this end and fold it over, same way you fold when you want to make a 180-degree dress. This is how I just folded it. Okay, and now we are going to use 3.14 to get the radius of this lower part. So now the waist measurement is 22 plus 1 inch for the zipper allowance, making it 23. If you divide that by 3.14, it will give me 7 inches. Then I'll be using 13 inches for my satin for the lower part. So if you add it together with the 7, that will make it 20. So I'll just go ahead and mark out 20 from here. Okay, so this is 20. Now you can see it's on this line. It's okay. Like I said, I will just manage this 1 yard or what I have left here. So I'll just keep on moving my tape and mark the points till I get to the other end. Alright, this is it. I just cut that out. This is the 20. So right now I will just cut off the 7 inches that we're using as the radius. So this is 7 here. I'll mark it out and also cut. So here it is. I'll just open it up now, and I'm going to mark out where I'll be adding my net. Okay, I'll be adding my net on this before the one that will sit exactly on the waist area. I have a video on how to make a ball gown fluffy without adding hard net, so you can check that video out to see how I'm going to do this part. So I'll just rush this part. I'll quickly mark just 2 lines is okay, and sew in the net before placing the last one that will be on the waist area. My satin, and as you can see, I just finished marking out the lines. For this first line I used I marked out 6 inches from there, and the second line is 10 inches, and I used my serger to secure or to sew this hemline and the waist line. So now all I did here, this is my net, all I did was just to cut out 2 inches. Remember that I have 5 yards of this net, so I cut out 2 inches, and I used that 2 inches and cut out 4 pieces of this first line. That is the first 4 pieces. I'm going to join it on this first line, which is 6 inches into 4. All I did was just to join it together and then use my gather stitch to run it through. And now for the second line, I cut out 3 pieces of it, because that is what the 2 yards could give me to sew on these 2 lines. So I'm going to take the first one. Here is the first one. This is the 6 inches. Okay, so I'll just pull and gather and sew it on this line, and I will take the one that is 10 inches and gather as well and join it on the second line. Now, like I said earlier, I have a detailed video on how to go about this part, and I'm going to drop it in the description box. It's how to make a ball gown fluffy without adding any hard net. So you can check that video out so that you see step by step on how to go about this part. So I'll quickly sew this in, okay, before joining the one that will sit on this waist line. All right, this is it after sewing the 2 layers together. Okay, this is the first one and this is the second one. So at this point I've exhausted my 2 yards. I'm left with the 3 yards of my net. So here it is. All I did here was just to cut out 3 pieces of my actual length, that is the lower part length measurement. So here I am working with 15 inches. So I just cut out, this is 3. Okay, I just folded the 3 yards of net for it to be easy for me to cut, and I just cut out 15 inches by 3 pieces. I hope that you understand this part. So now I just use my gather stitch and run it all the way through. But before that, I'm going to take my lace trimming now and sew it on this edge. So I'll just take one of it. This is one of it. I will now take my lace trimming. Alright, here is my lace trimming. So I'll just take it now and place it over on top, okay, on the front, and then I am going to run a straight stitch till I get to the other end. So I will just cut out 3 yards of this trimming because what I have here is 3 yards. So let me just run it through, and then I will gather the waist and join it on this waistline, and we are almost through with this dress. Alright, here it is after joining it together. This is what it looks. I just finished my lace trimming and I gathered that as well and then join it. Here I have my complete 5 yards. Okay, so when you're joining your lace trimming, make sure that you're using the exact thread of your fabric so that your thread will not be visible at the end of the day. As you can see mine, you can't see the thread line on my lace trimming. So that is it. I'm going to take the upper one now, that is the bodice. This is the time to join it together with this part. So I'll just go ahead now, okay, and open it up and then join it on the waistline like so, and then I'm going to cut out my lining so I can join together with sorry, I'll just join the lining. At this point, if you want, you can also add a very little hard net, but if you don't want, this is okay. For me, I will not be adding any hard net. So let me just sew the waistline before we finish up. This after joining it with the upper part, as you can see that the dress is already looking so beautiful. So at this point, before you join your lining, that is the lower part lining, you need to add your trimming on the waist area at this point. So you check whatever you have. For me, I am working with 23 inches. It's 22 plus 1 inch for my zipper allowance, making it 23 inches. So here I have my lace trimming. Here I have 23 inches. So I'm going to place it over this way now and sew it in. I'll be sewing it in 2 places. Okay, so I'm going to sew it in, say, ½ inch from this waistline upward. So this is how I'm going to place. Okay, this is ½ inch. I'm going to sew it first on this line and then sew exactly on this waistline to secure it very well. So let me just quickly do this so we can add the lining and then close the dress. So guys, this is what it looks after joining it, and you can see that it's already looking so beautiful. All that is left now is to close the back side and add the zipper. If you want, you can add a little bow at the back, and that is it. So guys, that is it for today. I believe you were able to grab 1 or 2 things from today's tutorial. Okay, please like this video, share, and I'll see you all very soon.